great podcasts? Do you love great Australian podcasts? Of course you do. Australians make incredible podcasts. And if you want to stay up to date with the best Australian shows, then check out Oz Podcasts. Look for us on social media and find your new favourite show from the Australian podcast directory on ozpodcast.com.au. That's OZPODCASTS, ozpodcast.com.au. Check it out.
If you like new stuff before anybody else, if you like to keep your finger on the pulse, if you like the future and want to be in it, keep on listening because we'll start in a minute. Tech Webcast, the hosts and guests are unsurpassed. Tech Webcast, because technology it moves so fast. Tech Webcast, ha, stick around and you're gonna have a blast. Yeah, Tech Webcast, ha, ha. Tech Webcast. Let's go.
Alrighty, welcome to episode 316 of the Tech Webcast podcast, recorded on the 29th of November 2014. Tech Webcast is recorded every Saturday at midday Melbourne times. Please rate us on iTunes and like us on Facebook.com/TechWebcast. Follow us on Twitter at TechWebcast.
Jacob Jones, how are you, mate?
I'm all right, Brandon. How are you today?
Good, mate. How's your week been?
Cold.
Yeah.
Cold.
Rainy?
Man, if you could say so. They said it was in the forecast, but it wasn't.
Okay.
Other than that, I had a good Thanksgiving.
Oh, good stuff, mate. Good stuff, yeah. No Andrew today.
Nope, no Andrew
Can you
today.
believe that he had a toothache last week when he was on the show?
Oh, really?
I couldn't believe that.
No, I couldn't believe it. So, yeah, he's away today. He'll be back next week, hopefully. And so is Jody. She's away too.
Best wishes to him.
Yep. And we've got Steve back on. Welcome back, Steve. Chatterbox Live.
Hey, how you doing?
It's good to be back.
Oh. Which
Everyone's
one?
back.
Everyone's back, yes. We've got MolksTV on. Welcome, Molks. How are you, mate?
Good. I just talked all over that. I'm sorry.
No, you're all right. You're all right, mate. You're all right. So, Chatterbox Live, how's your week been, mate?
Actually, been pretty busy. Of course, last week I got married at the Renaissance Festival. It was super awesome. Yay for me. And I got guests in the studio here in Corpus Christi, which is Santiago Villalobos. Yay, I said it right again.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Welcome. How are you, mate?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good, mate.
All right.
Well. Good to have you on.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So, Steve, how was your wedding?
It was really awesome. I mean, we had everybody, the families and the bridesmaids and everybody dressed up. Of course, we had the guard with the swords, the carriage ride in and out, and then we went to the King Midas masquerade ball afterward. And so the whole thing was, and the next day we went back because the bridesmaids missed most of it. So we went back again. Oh, that's really sad, isn't it? No, we went back again to see everything all over again. So it was awesome.
Good, and you? How's your week been?
It's been a little bit sad with Philip Hughes passing.
Yes, it has.
And I was just going to mention there was a very nice gesture by Sydney father started a gesture of putting his cricket bat out with the hat on there, and everyone around the world's copied that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a nice gesture.
Yep.
Yeah, so hopefully next week we'll be a bit happier.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. He was only like 25, wasn't he, or something? He was pretty still young. Mm.
Yeah, played a few tests for Australia.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Anything else, Belinda, you want to report on?
Just had to wait in line for an hour and a half to vote in the Victorian election.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, there's a lot of people there and people were getting a bit upset because they were lining up for ages. So,
okay.
Yes.
All right. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, we got a new person on today. Day Jacob. You know her?
Renata.
Renana's on. Welcome, Renana.
Thank you so much.
How's your week been?
Good. Yeah, I got a little caught up in the spirit of US Thanksgiving. I live in Canada, but I didn't grow up with either traditions. So,
Okay.
but I blame social media for that. Not for growing up without it,
Yeah.
for getting caught up in the spirit of things. Yeah. No, it was a
So
good
where
week.
are you from, Renata? Give us a quick rundown.
I grew up in South Africa. I was born in Canada, but I grew up in South Africa. So the accent stuck. I think, if you hit another country, school or college age, you'll adopt that accent, but otherwise, slim chance. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
Good
Well,
stuff.
it's an observation, anecdotal observation.
So
And
do
you've been on Google Plus since day one, is that correct? When it
Yeah, and then I took a break for a while. I don't know. I can't remember how long I was off for, and then I came back on because those storms hit New York, and I had sort of at last sighting hurled at the first big New York hurl, which is short for hang out in real life, and on my way to a trip to South Africa. And then on the way back, I guess my computer got all bunged up. I was traveling with my laptop, and it all just coincided, the breakage and my mom's visit, and I didn't, I decided, okay, I'm going to stay off all things interwebs. I don't know. I do that intermittently anyway.
Okay.
I hit the internet.
All right, we got Steve Molks on. Welcome, Steve.
Yeah, call me Molk, people. That'll
Molk,
save
how are
some
you, Molk?
confusion.
How are you,
I'm
mate?
good, mate.
What have you been up to?
Look, it's been a big week for me. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but there's lots happening in the Australian TV world,
Yeah, definitely.
not least of which is the end of ratings, but also the rise of subscription video on demand services, or at least the announcement that they're coming in 2015. So it's crazy time trying to get across all of that.
Yeah, definitely. Netflix and Stan and...
Oh, yeah, just all of that, the fact that MolksTV are lowering their prices, improving their offerings, it's going to become very much a huge opportunity for consumers in 2015 in Australia. Finally, because I'm sure our American friends would just go, what? You mean you haven't got it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Just a question about Netflix coming to Australia. What sort of content do you reckon they'll be on there, do you reckon, from day one?
For Netflix, well, we know that it's going to drop a whole bunch of their original content, particularly the new content that's coming. Foxtel have got locked up Orange is the New Black. I'm still trying to get a straight answer out of Netflix or Foxtel as to who's going to show season 3 of House of Cards, because neither of them have officially said they are.
Oh, okay.
And we're yet to get that information directly. Lots of people jump to the conclusion that Netflix do have it. They may do, but I would expect that there's contracts well in place around this, so I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, interesting. All right, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. And what else have you been up to, Steve? Any other?
Just getting ready for Christmas, man.
Cool,
dealing with all of that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And just enjoying the fact that I have now seen the new Star Wars Episode 7 teaser trailer about 1,000 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
1,000 times.
All right.
So good.
All right, we'll have to check it out. Okay, let's go to the news then, Jen, and come back and have a chat with Steve.
Okay. And hello, everybody, by the way. I'm Jen. No, we didn't introduce me, so I was just saying hi.
All right, let's play this first, and then we'll come back to Jen.
Okay. And in Tech Webcast news, first story is coming from VentureBeat.com, and it's about Google Chrome. Google Chrome will be blocking all NPAPI plugins by default in January, and they will be dropping the support completely in September. They provided an update on its plan to remove that Netscape plugin application programming interface. That is what NPAPI stands for, from Chrome. And they say that it will improve the browser's security, speed, and stability, as well as reduce the complexity in the code base. So in short, the latest timeline is as follows. Block all plugins by default in January 2015 and disable support in April 2015 and remove completely in September 2015. So if you're using NPAPI, that Netscape plugin application programming interface, just beware that that will be removed from Chrome next year. And the next story coming from BusinessInsider.com, they have 17 iPhone-only apps that are going to make Android fans jealous. So this is what they say is one of the best things about having an iPhone is that you can get a lot of apps first in iOS before it gets to Android. And they say that is a huge perk. So some of the apps that they have, I won't go through every one of these, but if you are interested, check out businessinsider.com.au for the 17 iPhone-only apps that will make your Android friends jealous. And the first one on here, they have NextGlass that scans beer and wine bottles to help you find your new favorite. So that's one of them that they have. Another one, Paper by Facebook. Evidently, that's still iOS only. I thought it was also Android, but I guess it's still only iOS. Hyperlapse from Instagram is another one. And what it does is it transforms your shaky footage into a time-lapse video or image. And then they have Dark Sky, and it tells you when it's about to rain or snow, and the list goes on and on. So check it out. Some great apps, and some of these you might not even have on your iOS device, so you might want to download those. Also in the news, coming from TechCrunch.com, talking about the GoPro. It's the holiday time of year, and you might be getting a GoPro for one of your loved ones or maybe yourself. Well, GoPro is working on a lineup of consumer drones, yes, drones, to supplement its action camera lineup. And the new product category would offer aerial drones like the Parrot Bebop and the DJI Phantom and Inspire One. The drones would reportedly retail in the between $500 to $1,000 range and come with a GoPro action camera tech on board, which is a natural fit given that outfitting drones with GoPros is already a popular option amongst hobbyists and videographers. Also in the news, coming from Engadget.com, talking about the European Parliament, and they are passing a vote asking for Google to be broken up. So earlier this week, there were reports that the European Parliament would recommend that Google be split off from the other parts of the business, and the Parliament passed a vote that effectively confirms that intention. More specifically, the vote states, quote, "The online search market is of particular importance in ensuring competitive conditions within the digital single market." And they also quote, "To prevent any abuse in the marketing of interlinked services by operators or of search engines." So this doesn't just apply to Google, but potentially any search engine out there, any search engine provider. And with the motion of stressing, quote, "the need to prevent online companies from abusing dominant positions," and the recommendation of unbundling search engines from other commercial services. The European Parliament doesn't have the authority to command member states take action. Rather, it serves as a strong message to regulators and policymakers that can. Google has declined to comment. Also in the news, this is coming from redmondpie.com, and they have a how-to on how to fix your slower Wi-Fi problem on iOS or iOS 8.1. iOS 8 and 8.1 rather. And there have been workarounds and updates from Apple as well, particularly for the Wi-Fi bugs in iOS 8, but it hasn't been perfect for some users. For those wondering if they should completely give up their iOS device, there might be hope still with a trick. The trick is rather simple, and anyone with a spare minute at hand can actually give it a go. They have instructions on how to do it, and in short, just simply launch your settings app, tap on Wi-Fi, and hit the I next to your network name. Manually enter the following DNS address, which is 8.8.8, comma 8.8.4.4. So that once again, the DNS address is 8.8.8.8, comma 8.8.4.4. And step 4, save your settings and run a speed test to verify that whether or not the issue has actually been resolved. So the trick here is that the DNS that is being used, which is Google's very own in this case, Google's DNS is known to help web pages load faster in most circumstances. However, this is more of a workaround rather than an actual fix and might not help users that are actually facing issues pertaining to dropped Wi-Fi connections. And the last story of the day is another one about Chrome, and this is from cnet.com. If you have a Mac, you want to go ahead and install Chrome 39 because you'll get some 64-bit web browsing. So as long as you don't have an old Mac, you can go ahead and install the 64-bit of Chrome version of Chrome. It's simple to do. Just go to the Chrome website and download it directly from Google. In fact, I'm running it right now on my system, and it works fantastically. Of course, you will need a Mac that with a 64-bit processor to run Chrome 39, and it's likely you probably do have a Mac with 64-bit support. Apple started making the switch to 64-bit processors back in 2006. So to check to see if you have a 64-bit processor, click the Apple button in the upper left-hand corner of your screen and choose About This Mac. Your processor is listed on the overview page, and you can check your processor against the chart on the Apple support page. And that is the news, Brad. Back to you.
Great stuff, Jennifer.
Thanks. Good stories that you
Good
found.
stories, Jake. Good story, Jake.
Good stories, Jacob.
Yeah, great stuff, Jake.
Thank you. Can I add one more?
You go ahead, mate.
Sure. What is it?
Chi-Chu is leaving.
Oh, yeah, he is. Did you hear about that, Jennifer?
What was that? Say that again.
Chi-Chu's leaving Google Plus.
And he starts his new job on Tuesday.
Chi-Chu. He runs the Hangouts.
Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think I lost some geek cred.
Not really, Jennifer.
So anyway, yeah. So Jacob, have you got any views on them stories, mate?
Well, that one, but the iOS, I agree with Jennifer. It won't fix dropped Wi-Fi.
No,
it could be.
It will just help it load faster. Yeah.
But it also could be like your internet provider or the router you have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the other Google one, the apartment, I don't think that would go well with that much people. Because if you split them up, then how are you going to keep the team running at full steam? Basically.
Interesting.
Meantime,
okay,
if I can
Renata,
chime
yep, go ahead.
Chris Messina, creator of the hashtag, the Twitter hashtag, and former employee and UX designer at Google. I mean, he must have been a lead. I think he was, quite senior. Left about a year ago, but this afternoon on Medium, he published quite an in-depth article, a bit of a rant, expletives included, about what he thought was wrong with Google Plus and how it had lost its way and the hopes that he had for it, and a really interesting angle, pertaining to this whole, well, you can't ever leave the internet and it's impossible to take a vacation from it. So I thought that was very interesting. And I mean, it's small fry in the bigger Google scheme of things, but they are under a lot of duress at the moment if you take into account what's happening with the EU. It does seem as though a lot of key staff have left of late, and I think that starts a bit of a snowball effect, or it can. I don't know if all of these individuals are dominoes, but then they certainly, might have been thinking about it, might give them the extra push. I mean, these are highly sought after guys, right? And gals. They are headhunted all the time, and they are bored and restless if they ever have to work again. Financially speaking, they've seen an IPO or two, or had some stocks and shares, benefits to that in that department, so that they are set up for life, and they get to pick and choose. So it is, it's a very interesting development indeed. I mean, Matt Cutts left earlier, right? And what I hadn't put earlier this year, Matt Cutts being the SEO, like the webmaster for the web, if you think that he handled spam and such for Google and set out the guidelines, made sure websites and webmasters were complying. And I hadn't really made this connection until I listened to I think it was a Twit podcast, and the point came up that he was on the show, and he dropped a comment about I just don't think Google is well served employing me to police spam on websites anymore. Which speaks back to the fact that when you're that big of a deal in Google, you're probably just going to be offered some other position if the current one is not to your liking or not working out. So yeah, I mean, another week, another problem for Google, and they do have their legions of legal teams and so forth. But it is quite interesting to see what's hitting them at the moment, I must admit.
All right, good, interesting. Let's go to.
And I know, Shi Chu did. Yeah, he was the creator of Hangouts, and he did drop a comment to the effect that he's starting work on Tuesday, kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes.
Definitely.
Because I know SpaceX has just moved it's opened up a branch in Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah, so very interesting.
Good information, Renata. Let's go to Belinda. What's your view on them stories at all? You got any?
Yeah, I was just interested in the GoPro drones for consumers. I was just thinking maybe there could be some privacy issues because it could be like the peeping Tom or something like that who's going to misuse it. So I was just thinking it probably needs to be regulated with strict guidelines.
Okay.
Because, yeah, you don't know, because they could just be selling it to anyone. So they'd probably have to check who they're selling it to, kind of like when you're selling guns to people, they've got to check out who the person is and make sure they're not going to misuse it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. It could take off as well.
Any other information, Belinda, you want to mention? Any other views you want to say?
I already mentioned the cricket bats thing that took off on.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good idea.
Excellent.
It is.
If I had a cricket bat, I would put it out right now. But yeah,
I've seen Peter Hitchener. He had one on his Channel 9 set.
Oh yeah, cool.
On Twitter, I seen that the other day. Yeah, quite interesting. Mark, what about you? Do you have any views on them stories at all, mate?
The two that stand out for me, the Philip Hughes tragedy was just an incredible thing for our American friends that don't understand how important cricket is in Australian culture. Think of one of your up-and-coming identified, incredible new baseball or NFL or hockey players who, in the course of a game, is injured, falls into a coma, and 2 days later in hospital dies because of that injury. That's what happened, equivalence.
Wow.
And the cricketing world, so not just Australian cricketing culture, but players from around the world have paid tribute to this guy who was destined to get his first baggy green this summer to play for Australia. So just talk about cut down in his prime, horrible. And I think that the tribute, I agree that the tribute, put out your bats, a stunning way to just remember a guy who was someone just loved playing cricket and brought so many people joy by watching him do the thing that he loved doing. I mean, there's even this weekend in club rounds around the country, normally when you get to a score of 50, you retire because that allows everyone to have a play and the game doesn't stretch on for longer than a day. And Cricket Australia have asked that for all club rounds this weekend, that the score be raised to 63 when you retire, because that was the score Philip Hughes was on when he was tragically struck by that cricket ball. Also, the support that's come for Sean Abbott, who was the bowler that delivered that ball, has been phenomenal, as well it should be. I mean, here's a guy who professionally is designed he's built around making these balls fly down the pitch as quickly as possible, as difficult as possible, so that the batsman gets out. And one of the balls he bowled has killed someone. Now, no one is pointing fingers at him, rightly so. It is not his fault. This is just one of those freak moments in the game. And I think that the support that he offered Philip Hughes' family was incredible. And I think that the support that Sean Abbott is getting absolutely is necessary and absolutely is incredible and should be. So there's that. As a drone owner and flyer, I was intrigued by the news that GoPro are intending to make their own. I've got a DJI Phantom 2 with a GoPro hanging off the bottom.
Oh, nice.
And I love it. I love using it every chance I get. The catch is, of course, that legislation around using these things is so archaic and is so far behind it's not funny. At this point, about the only place that I can use it is to take it out to someone's farm, and as long as no one's within, I think it's 50 meters of me, only then can I fly it. And I have a ceiling of, I think it's 100 meters or thereabouts, because, of course, allowing for light aircraft and helicopters and stuff, they've got a ceiling that they can't go below. So that's where I can operate in. Now, that's not too bad. That's I guess high enough. But the stuff that I've taken that thing way higher than that. I've taken it up to 200 meters and got some incredible aerial footage. I love it, but if I was to do it now, I'd get in all sorts of trouble. I know in America, the current legislation is all 50 states have banned use of drones in national parks. And that's crazy, because I think that that's the perfect place to try and get some aerial footage, is in one of the many national parks that the US has. Understandably, I think whoever's piloting it needs to be cautious and aware of the people around them, even to the point of having a spotter, so that they're aware of the people around them. Those things are dangerous and could hurt if they fell on you, no question. But someone who's being careful isn't going to do that and is going to get some amazing footage. And look, it's going on holidays with me next week. I hope to get some great footage around Noosa and of the beach and the ocean and all that sort of stuff.
Gee, that'd be all right.
Yeah, I was just going to say there was a real estate agent in Sydney that they had a drone and they accidentally caught a woman sunbaking naked in her backyard. She lived next door to the house that was for sale.
Yes, accidentally, in best air quotes. There is no question, that whole entire story was a PR beat-up.
Yeah, so they could sell more houses. Yeah, true.
I just have people come to them, look at us, we got all this sort of stuff. No, it was totally a situation that was. They may have taken it accidentally, but I think they will have known it was there, and they will have arranged with the lady to play along without question.
Yeah, because they didn't talk to the lady on the news or anything, so they probably paid her or something.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Let's go to Steve, Chatterbox Live. Any views? What's your view on them stories, mate?
Talking a little bit about the Chrome 64-bit. It's a long time in waiting. I'm not sure, but isn't the Google Chrome also available in 64-bit for Windows and maybe Linux? I don't know if it's been officially released. Okay.
Yeah, it's already available for the others, but it's just we had to wait forever. There was a beta version that came out for Chrome recently that was 64-bit from the Mac, and finally now we have the main non-beta version out for Mac that's 64-bit, which is great.
And talking a little bit about the drones as well, it seems not really not a surprise. Maybe GoPro would do it because obviously putting on a drone or airplane or something like that, would be kind of the next step, I guess. And going into a little bit of the laws as well, I guess what Steve mentioned is a little bit archaic as well, because I know here in America, it's really not an issue supposedly with being in perhaps a flight of an airplane per se, but it more has to do with they don't want you to do a commercial use like selling the video to TV stations, so then using commercials or something like that. I think that's the biggest issue right now. Obviously, for the FAA, I think also a little bit with you don't want to do it too high within airspace of aircraft, I guess. But it's kind of weird that he mentioned about in state parks here in America that you can't fly the drones, which I think is kind of stupid, because I mean you can fly a kite, that's fine. Remote controlled aircraft, that's fine, but drones, that's kind of weird.
Yep. Anything else, Steve, you want to mention?
No, those were the only things.
That's it. What about your guest there?
Oh, he had to leave a little early, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Jacob or Jennifer, do you want to mention any other stories about anything else? Or?
I am happy about that 64-bit browser, and that's for sure. I'm also kind of excited about the GoPro drones. I think that will be great. I wish that they would be. I think it would be nice if they were out.
Hello.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Good.
Let's talk some TV stuff.
Absolutely, Brad. What would you want to talk about?
Oh, anything. What Netflix or Stan? You know what's happening?
Well, both of those are the biggest news probably in the Australian TV market in the last month or so. The worst kept secret in the world that Netflix was launching in Australia in 2015 dropped the week before last, confirming that in March we will see Netflix available to Australians legitimately. Of course, there's a rumoured figure, I think it's about 200,000 people, have Netflix accounts and they access them using various means, whether it's VPN or DNS systems or whatever.
Yep.
And there's some questions that are being thrown around, not least of which, of course, is Netflix. How are they get over the hurdle of explaining to the Australian public who they are? Because in America, it's become a noun as much as it is a verb. And in Australia, you say Netflix to most people and they go, what now? So there's that they'll have to overcome, but I think they've got a pretty good marketing people on it. But the content will be a concern because absolutely Netflix Australia is not going to have anywhere near the depth of library that Netflix US has. It's going to be, the best equivalent I heard is it's going to be Netflix Canada Light.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because anything that is any good that Netflix has deals for in the US.
So does that mean people will they'll just keep using the same one that they've been using so they can get more content? Is that what's going to happen?
There's some question about how Netflix are going to handle that because, of course, they're able to determine fairly easily from usually from billing processes who's got what where. There's some talk that maybe they will offer those that are from Australia that have American accounts, they'll offer them a discount to swap their account over to the Australian version. I don't know how many people will take them up on that. There was some talk that they would even, for lack of a better phrase, geo-block Australian accounts so that they could only use the American version, which surely would then only mean that it's going to force people to get prepaid credit cards in the US and those sorts of things, and they'll just sign up with US, like they'll just go around it again. And that's the part of the ongoing problem for copyright in Australia is that people, thanks to the internet, can find a multitude of ways to get around some fairly archaic laws, again, that need review around what can and can't be seen and who can and can't see it and show it to us. Now, I'm all for companies paying for broadcast rights in their region. However, we seem to have gotten beyond this regionalised copyright thing, given the fact that, we'll have a look at us right now, we're having a podcast recording with people from around the world simultaneously. So that said, why do we then have to fall into a regionalised copyright scenario when why can't it just be, hey, Netflix, here is my money, show me all of the things. HBO are launching their own internet-based I guess almost subscription video on demand service. They're going after, the cable cutters in the US. You watch how many people from outside America are going to sign up to that. It will be massive.
Yep, definitely. Yep.
And then there's Stan, which is a competitor in the Australian market to Netflix. They're new, so they're launching in February in 2015. The big hooks for them, apart from a pretty decent catalogue, because it's a joint venture between a big media company here called Fairfax and one of our television networks, the Nine Network. So they, of course, have a bunch of output deals in content already that they're now just going to feed digitally into Stan, their subscription video service. The big hooks is that they're putting on the entire 5 seasons of Breaking Bad will be available from launch. And they're also putting on Better Call Saul, the Breaking Bad sequel. So they've signed that exclusively in the Australian market. The only way you'll see that in Australia is on Stan. Now, that's the first time we've seen anything like that from a signing to a digital-only platform. So there's some competition there. I'd expect both of the services will land at about the $10 or $12 a month mark, which I'm budgeting for. That's what I'm going to lay on the table to get both of them. And then throw in that Foxtel, the existing subscription cable service, have dropped their prices significantly. They're trying to compete in that video on demand service through a system they have called Presto. And there's word that another TV network called Seven will get into bed with them and provide them with a whole bunch of TV content to add to their movie content. And then there's Foxtel itself, which is selling its Play service for $25 a month that gives you full access to all of the television it's got.
Yeah.
So there was a report from the managing director, the CEO of Netflix this week. He reportedly said that there will be no broadcast television by 2030. Now, if that's Netflix's plan, if that's what they want to achieve, I think they're going to achieve that 10 years before 2030, or very close to. I think that quite legitimately, your NBCs and your CBSs and all of those sorts of things, along with the Australian equivalent 7, 9, 10, those sorts of things, will just be a digital landscape for television. I think, and this is possibly a controversial statement, I think that moving away from linear broadcast television will change the drama that we get. Because I reflect on a show like Breaking Bad where its writing was incredible. The performances were amazing. I love that series so hard. The thing that made it so good for me was that I had to wait week on week to find out what happened next. If I was coming into Breaking Bad now and I binge watched the entire first season, it's good, and I think that you would benefit from that. But you don't then get that moment where you get to piece apart everything that they've put into an episode and go, well, why did they do this? What did that mean? Why did Jesse say this? When Walt did this, how come that happened?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, you don't
No,
get
that's
that.
true. Yeah,
week
you
to week
don't.
scenario.
You don't.
Well,
You don't
sorry,
stop
in a
to
week
think
to week
about it.
scenario. Yeah,
Exactly, because you're just going on. You're immediately the next show, so you don't even stop to ponder what happened and why and how and what. So that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting scenario that the death of linear broadcast television, whenever that happens, we'll have to face. And I mean, we've got great dramas playing out now, things like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
broadcaster is phenomenal, and it's good to see that the Labor Party have said that they'll, raise their funding should they be voted back in, when they're voted back in. But in the interim, we still have to deal with this gutting of an important resource to every part of Australia. I think it's horrible.
Yeah, they're getting rid of a program called Bush Telegraph, which is like really important for farmers, and just getting rid of it. It's just crazy.
Yeah, there's lots of programs they're getting rid of. They're shifting late line. We know that there's a bunch of excellent dramas and comedies that haven't been renewed, that haven't been announced that they're coming back. So it is absolutely the public's loss. And the way that this government is pandering to their lord and master, Herr Murdoch, is absolutely abysmal.
Okay. Any other questions, Belinda?
No, that's all I had.
All right. Jacob, any questions for Steve?
Not really, Brian.
All right, mate. Jennifer, any questions?
I am just wondering, you're such a TV expert and up on all the shows. How do you consume your media? Do you use a DVR? Do you use any media devices? Do you watch broadcast television? What's your favorite way to consume your media, your TV media?
All of the ways.
Yeah.
All of the ways. I've got, I've built my own Windows 7 media center. That's my home workhorse PC. That's got 4 tuners built into that, so that allows me to record a bunch of things at once from a broadcast perspective.
How awesome!
Look, it's a joy to behold that little thing. If it ever dies, I'm going to cry into my beer. I have access to all of the networks. Have preview portals so that I can view television shows ahead of time. So that I can, of course, review them and talk about them when I'm on radio and podcasts and stuff. I'm on HBO's preview list, so I get a whole bunch of episodes sent from them ahead of time that are specially coded so that if ever I leaked them onto the internet, they would know it came from me and I'd get big smacks. So I've got a drawer full of, the first half seasons of a lot of HBO shows that I get ahead of time. Like I saw the first 3 episodes of The Newsroom a month ago. Phenomenal. Loved that. And I love that opportunity. I like to use a lot of the catch-up services from different times. I'm looking forward to accessing Netflix and Stan and those sorts of things when they're announced. When I'm in the States, I use Netflix over there and Hulu, and I love them to bits. So I think it's just going to radically transform the way that people can choose to access their content, because right now in Australia, we don't have a lot of that choice.
Right.
What's going to happen to QuickFlix, do you reckon, Steve?
Look, QuickFlix has been dying a slow death for a long time. And as much as they might sort of suggest that, we're still here and look at what we can do, relevance deprivation syndrome has kicked in. And I think they may have missed the boat, particularly because Foxtel are able to just fund Presto, which has been their initial and main competitor. And now that Netflix and Stan comes along, what's QuickFlix left with? Not a whole bunch of anything.
No, not at all. Nothing at all. All right. Okay. Any other questions from anyone?
I got a quick question.
Go ahead. Yep.
And this goes kind of the statement where broadcast television in around 2030 is kind of going away and everything's going to be on the internet. Now, it seems that's going to be really tied in heavily to the internet service providers because, right now, even with Netflix, a lot of the cable companies are charging them extra to be able to stream on a higher bandwidth than some of their own competitors. So how do you think that's going to affect watching television for your service provider, depending on what you're using? Well,
be your home phone, your internet provider, along with your entertainment provider, which is interesting given Telstra's deal. I'd imagine it'll just be a rebadged, rebranded Telstra service that they offer because Telstra are co-owners of Foxtel.
Okay.
I suspect that what it will be is just that. And so if you're a Telstra customer, you'll get that opportunity to fall into that. It would be interesting, and I offer you this, similar to what we're seeing in the US, as you spoke about, you know, with some ISPs charging for premium access to bandwidth and those sorts of things. I suspect that if you're not a Telstra customer or a Foxtel internet customer, that you may find that the service you get isn't as good when you're trying to, you know, access the internet versions of Foxtel and things. That wouldn't surprise me. I.e., come to us and we'll make it all better.
Yep. Be very interesting to see next year. Jacob, any other questions?
Nah.
Nothing at all?
No, everybody's pretty much said them for me.
Okay. All right. What about you, Renata? Any views on what Steve was saying?
So interesting about Netflix coming to Australia because I'm a fan and I, you know, got it fairly recently. It's fairly easy to exhaust the stock of the Canadian one anyway, and I'd imagine the Australian one is going to be, Australian version of Netflix is going to be similar to the Canadian one. I'm going a little bit backwards, I guess, technologically, because I was on the phone to my internet service provider last night. For the longest time, all I've had is internet, and a Chromecast, and just cast content from, you know, tablets, phones, and laptops willy-nilly, and it's been more than enough for my household, you know, our entertainment needs, not having too much noise, not watching schlocky shows. But yeah, I got one of these holiday promotions in the mail and started investigating, and I'm really, like, in regards to what you were saying, Steve, I think HBO would then have to become a kind of Netflix, because they really are up ahead on that score. And I'm looking forward to enjoying, you know, my 3 months, 6 months offer, and then probably shutting a lot of the services down again, catching up on some more recent movies, and definitely, you know, soaking up that HBO goodness. Game of Thrones coming out in January, I think, the new season, or March. And yeah, I mean, how do you get around that? Because I kind of felt a little ahead of the curve, whatever, having nothing but internet and having all my entertainment needs met, you know, together with the help of Chromecast. But now, you know, there are gaps there and needs not being met. I miss news. I miss packaged news. Yeah. I've looked online. I've explored all the, you know, options, and unless you're getting service through a TV provider, you're not going to get access to certain things. And one of them is news. Another is, I mean, there's lots of ways of consuming news, but I mean real-time video news. Unless you're lucky enough to, I don't know, be catching it on social media or filming it yourself. Then there's sport. And what I miss personally, you know, the talk shows and award shows, actually. A lot of people aren't fans. I certainly am. And for me, the biggest award show is the Oscars. And so in times past, I would see all the movies. Then it became, oh, let me watch the rest of the Oscar movies I haven't seen before the award ceremony. Then it became, let me watch all of the Oscar shows because I haven't seen any of them, to where I'm like, what's been nominated for an Oscar again? So, you know, there are still some gaps. And as I said, I sometimes like going lo-fi and thinking, well, at least I don't have a smart TV that's tracking me. Netflix is impossible to sign out from, which is not a reason to do away with it. I'm not going to do away with it. But, you know, sometimes it feels nice to escape that whole annoying, I don't know, overly attached boyfriend feeling of being tracked by all these cookies and by the big internet service providers. Yeah, I mean the big search engines and so forth, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to all of those things and the workarounds, but human beings hack. You know, we do our own hacks,
Mm.
and and then, you know, on a corporate level, only the companies that are successfully hacking all the time survive.
Definitely.
And I see HBO in a class of its own. I mean, how do you guys get HBO shows in
Well, you
Australia?
don't. Well, I've got Foxtel, and they show a lot of HBO shows on Showcase. So, I watch them sort of shows through Foxtel. What about you, Belinda? You watch a lot of Foxtel? I know you got Foxtel.
Yeah, I watch all the HBO stuff through that Showcase, which is really good.
Mm. Do you get a lot of good value out of Foxtel?
Yeah, definitely. It's the best thing that I've got, especially because I like sport. I like every sport, so so there's always something to watch, whether it be EPL or A League or anything like that, or cricket.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So it's really good.
Sport and that sort of stuff. What else? What else, Belinda? Do you want to mention?
I just started watching the Australian drama on Foxtel called Wentworth.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, good show.
It's about some women in a women's prison in Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they sort of like the prisoners are trying to be number one, and they're trying to outdo each other, and like it's not very violent in the first few episodes, and then it gets really violent. They start like flashing each other and
wow,
punching, getting into punch-ups and stuff.
Believe it or not, that show is actually on Netflix. It's season one. Season one.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
Has House of Cards' new season come out yet? I think it has.
I'm not sure.
Season 3 isn't due until early next year. We don't have a launch date yet.
Oh gosh, I love that show. But that was an interesting point that Steve brought up about, you know, serializing and not having to wait with left hanging off the hook. Because I remember launching into Breaking Bad as a binge watch, and it being too much immersion in that world. I think it would have been much more exciting and engrossing and gripping to watch, you know, week by week.
That's what I did. I watched it all at once. Yeah.
I mean, Mumsy was out for a visit, and so we went the way of all Downton Abbey. So there was a little bit of that going on. I thought, oh, you know, if I'm going to watch one show with my mom at night while she's out for a visit, I could just... I did it for her, right? But I mean, it is a golden age of TV. There are these ridiculously well-written shows and superb portrayals of characters. You know, Breaking Bad's one of them. To get a handwritten note from Sir Anthony Hopkins, you know, you're doing something right. And Orange is the New Black is another one. Downton, of course, something totally different. So I guess the solution is to have a mixed bag, you know, to have your Netflix, but unfortunately there's still no way. I did it for a while, and yeah, there's still no way of opting out of TV service providers altogether.
So, Renata, what sort of content do you get over there in Canada for Netflix?
On Netflix.
Yeah.
You know, like I've seen House of Cards up to date. For some strange reason, that was more up to date. Once upon a time, they fell more behind on some of those seasons. It's a bit of a mixed bag. You can definitely search and probably find any old movie. And then there's a fair smattering of art house movies. Of course, they begin to immediately track you and personalize. So that's just my perception. I've just realized after they're learning what I like, you know.
I think they're just recommending the show that you're recommending.
And they'll do useful little recommendations of new releases. So every now and again there'll be a new release. But yeah, it's improved a lot to where, hey, for the price of one movie rental, you've got basically unlimited if your standards aren't too high. You just want to mess around and watch a kind of neutral, put your mind in neutral movie.
Good. So thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And Sons of Anarchy's back next week, Jennifer.
Oh, I cannot wait.
2 more episodes to go. I can't wait.
Yeah, me neither. I hate that it's going to be over, but I can't wait for the next show.
I can just rewatch it again.
Yeah, that's true.
Golden Age TV.
Do you watch it, Renata? Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah, incredible. Just an incredible show. I mean, for me, I went to film school and um, was more on the acting side of things, but definitely the film students. I mean, it was a small school, and we all tried everything and knew each other's stuff and subjects, and yeah, it's very interesting to me to see how the hell are they doing that. Oh my God, this writing is so good, this producer is so good, because a lot is the director, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, if the actors don't have their chops up to scratch, and a lot of people, this is their career-defining role. Sons of Anarchy, Breaking Bad, House of Cards, those are career definers. And it's TV, it's not movies. So that's very exciting to me. And I'm excited about my Ringly. My Ringly's about a ship. I'm not interested in the smartwatches. I'm getting a smart ring.
Cool.
Oh, nice. Oh, when are
Yeah.
you getting that?
I hope soon. They finally asked me for my ring size and my shipping details, because the plan was always, it wasn't a Kickstarter or anything, but I got a discounted rate for being an early adopter, whatever. They were 145 and now they're closer to 200. And they talked about shipping in late fall. So I was like, okay, that means Christmas has to be the cutoff, the final cutoff. But I was starting antsy recently, and they just asked me for my ring size and shipping deets. So yeah, let's hope it's under the Christmas tree for me.
That's exciting. Good for you.
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing about it.
Yeah, it's simpler. Like, a lot of people would want all the complex features, but I'm on this real simplifying role, and that's not why. I got it because it's cool and pretty, but it's basically 4 patterns of colored, blinking signals and vibrations. And so, you're not constantly looking at your watch, because I would rather, as most people would, for whatever reason, they're going to be pulling out their phones and have their faces buried in their phones a lot of the time too. But say you're out at that special meal or that dinner date, or you are just chit-chatting with friends, and being more sociable. The ring's a lot less invasive, but you can see emergency calls. So you've got, your regular, your sort of favorites, your most important calls that you want to get. Maybe you set another pattern for email, you set another pattern for your next appointment, and then you got one other option to fill there in the slot. So
Gotcha. Nice and simplified. That'll be nice for you.
I'll let you know.
All
What
right.
else did you get?
Good stuff. All right. Okay, let's go back to Molk. Any final view on the show, Molk, and where can they get hold of you and stuff, and any good other good stuff?
Look, the best place to find everything that I do is follow me on Twitter at MolksTVTalk.
Anyway.
Grab me on the book /MolksTVTalk. Or go to MolksTVTalk.com.
Oh, hold on, because I might need it for the show, but it should be on.
You just interrupted Molk TV while I was talking, Steve. Go ahead, Molk. Sorry about that, mate.
It's all right. So yeah, it's MolksTVTalk at everything.
Good stuff.
MolksTVTalk.com is where I write and do stuff. I'm happy to talk about anything that's going on in the television landscape, content, how we're going to consume it, all of that sort of things.
Yep.
I will tell you, if you haven't watched the Star Wars Episode 7 teaser trailer, go straight away, stop everything, stop the podcast, come back to it, go and watch it now. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, I'm going right now to go watch it now. Bye, guys. I'll see you.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate your time,
Go somewhere.
Steve, being on. Appreciate your time. Come back on any time, mate.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
No
guys.
problem. Good to have you on. Belinda, where can they get hold of you?
It's just on Twitter at bdemy. That's BDEMY.
All right. Good stuff. You can get me on Twitter, Brad Oz and Tech Webcast. Chatterbox Live.
You can get me at. Let me bring this up real quick. And there you go. Contact info. At Twitter, you can get me at chatterbox_live.
Cool, mate. Good stuff. Jacob Jones.
You can get me and find me at Jazzbot326691Z.
And you want to mention the other thing, mate?
Well, Tech Luster is coming back. But
What's that?
not me.
Oh, no, I was just wondering what Tech Cluster is about. I'm sorry.
I was
excuse
just
my
I was just waiting for someone to ask a question about that. Go ahead.
It's just basically like Tech Webcast, a tech show.
Rad.
You're not going to be copying Tech Webcast, are you?
Not really.
Okay, good. Jennifer.
Yeah, the show was awesome tonight, and I can be found at jenniferruggiero.com or getnerdywithit.com.
Good stuff. How's your podcast going, Jen? Is it good?
Doing well. We did a special Black Friday deals the other day, and Christopher Rizzo was back on the show with me, so it was a lot of fun.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We need to get him on too.
Yeah, definitely. You do. Yeah.
Get back on. Okay, Renata, what about you? Where can they get hold of you? And
even if you don't use Google Plus, all the posts are most of mine anyway are public and indexed. So you could always just type in Renata Show in Google Plus in Google or your search engine. But the full address, I guess, is plus.google.com/plus Renata Show. And I mean, I don't know, I could give you my email and I hang out at LinkedIn and on Skype and Hangouts. That's it.
What about Twitter and that? You don't use Twitter?
No, simplify. But I'm feeling left out now. You're making me want to go back to Twitter. That Star Wars trailer is absolutely amazing. I mean, I really got misty-eyed because in the grand old days of apartheid in South Africa, if a movie wasn't outright banned from the country in first place, couldn't watch it. There would be heavy age restrictions. So my dad snuck me into that movie because I looked older than I was, and I remember him coming home so excited and telling me about this movie and Darth Vader, which he pronounced wrong, and it really looks like a return to the roots, and it looks very sort of stirring, it looks like a real epic. So yeah, happy Thanksgiving and happiness in amidst all the tragedy, individuals as well as groups like in Ferguson. And have a lovely weekend. Thanks so much for having me on. It was great fun.
No problem, Renata. Come back on any time. I'd love to have you back on any time. Come back.
Sweetie, will do. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. And thank you to Belinda for coming on too. Appreciate your time too.
No worries.
And Andrew and Jody will be back next week. Hopefully. Thanks, guys, for being on. Appreciate it.
Tech Webcast. The host is unsurpassed. Tech Webcast. 'Cause technology, it moves so fast. Tech Webcast. Ha, stick around and you're gonna have a blast. Yeah. Tech Webcast. Ha, ha. Tech Webcast. Big ups to Andrew, to Brad, Jody, Steve, and Jennifer.